While many sequels are kind of representative of wider creative bankruptcy in the film industry today, it would also be deeply, deeply foolish to poo-poo franchises as a whole. Haha, poo. There are loads of obvious examples of sequels that did massively outpace the original, and where upcoming movies are concerned, these are the ones that might just pull it off. While we won't know for sure until we see them for ourselves, the potential is absolutely there for these films to be bigger and better than what came before. With their insane cast, their beefed up budgets, and their intriguing narratives, these sequels just might build on the first. So let's get into it. I'm Ewan, you're watching What Culture, and here are a whole bunch of upcoming movie sequels that might be better than the first. First on the way, Mortal Kombat 2. 2021's Mortal Kombat reboot was a bit of a mixed bag. It offered up some dazzling visuals and some entertainingly gory action, but it was also weighed down by the wildly unnecessary presence of an audience surrogate protagonist in Cole Young, played by Lewis Tan, who was created solely for the film. But pretty much everything we've seen and heard about Mortal Kombat 2 suggests that it's going to be much, much better. Now for one, this movie will actually feature the actual Mortal Kombat tournament, which is, kind of a big deal. Also, Cole appears to have been nudged into the periphery for the sequel, with the character being barely featured in the film's marketing so far, while the newly introduced fan-favorite character of Johnny Cage, here played by Carl Urban, will be taking up protagonist duties. Otherwise, it looks set to deliver the grisly combat fans expect, while tossing in a ton more beloved franchise characters, including Katana, Jade, Quan Chi, Shao Kahn, Sindel, and Baraka, which is pretty cool. But there's actually more here too. Warner Bros. Recently confirmed that Mortal Kombat 3 is already in development, implying that they're pretty confident about this one building on the success of the first. Next up, Superman Man of Tomorrow. James Gunn's Superman reboot faced the unenviable task of getting audiences jazzed about the Man of Steel again following his rather, shall we say, lackluster depiction in the DCEU, which had only wrapped up less than a few years prior. Also, Zack Snyder fans, please don't be launching your granny's peach tea at me down in the comments. It's gone. It's in the past. Let's move forward, please. Now, while Gunn's Superman wasn't an unqualified success, it did nevertheless deliver a solid first entry into the burgeoning DC universe, firmly establishing David Corenswet's strong rendition of the character, as well as his supporting cast, co-led by Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor. But now that the tricky onboarding process is done, it feels like Gunn can soar to greater heights with the follow-up, Superman Man of Tomorrow. For many comic book fans, the huge potential of Man of Tomorrow lies in the introduction of iconic supervillain Brainiac, who has never been depicted in a live-action Superman blockbuster ever, which is wild. It's like we've gone this far with Batman. Imagine if any Batman movie hadn't done like Two-Face, It's kind of an essential villain. Gunn has already confirmed that the sequel will see Superman and Lex Luthor reluctantly teaming up to take the villain on, which should further lend the film a unique dynamic compared to the first. Honestly, Gunn has everything he needs to make Man of Tomorrow a superior sequel, so here's hoping. And yeah, as a last note here by the way, while I'm slightly burnt out on Brainiac given how many non-movie things he's been in recently, I am genuinely excited to see him show up here. But after that, maybe, I don't know, let's try and do some New Gods stuff, please. Pretty please. I want to see Jimmy Olsen with the Forever People. That'll be a great time. Next up, the Super Mario Galaxy movie. The Super Mario Bros. Movie was fine. It certainly nailed the look of its video game namesake, even if critics were more divided on Chris Pratt's casting as Mario, its utterly threadbare plot, and of course those incessant and wildly out of place needle drops. Honestly, I kind of think we're at a point now with kids cinema where studios can just throw whatever they want out there and it's gonna make $1 billion. It's there's so little of it out there that the parents, they're desperate, you know? And if that's gonna have to be more Super Mario Brothers movies, then so be it, I guess. Tangent aside, it's easy to expect better from the Super Mario Galaxy movie, because first and foremost, it's adapted from the Super Mario Galaxy video games, which are widely beloved for their visually striking intergalactic setting. Above all else, the potential for some absolutely jaw-dropping sequences speaks for itself, far beyond the comparatively tame Mushroom Kingdom of the first film. Now, on top of this, the sequel also introduced fan-favorite characters Bowser Jr., here played by Benny Safdie, and Rosalina, played by Brie Larson. While the Super Mario Galaxy movie likely won't stray too far from the formula that worked the first time around, there's at least a good chance that it's a more visually creative and fan service-packed follow-up. Next up, I Am Legend 2. I Am Legend is a decent but also deeply flawed post-apocalyptic action thriller, one that serves as a strong showcase for Will Smith's acting chops, though ultimately comes undone with a deeply disappointing ending. The film's box office success ensured that a follow-up was swiftly announced, though, and the original plan was for it to be a prequel, allowing Smith's protagonist Robert Neville, who dies at the end of the first film, to still appear. After years of stalled progress, I Am Legend 2 was revived back in 2022, with Smith announced to star, but how, you know? Given he kind of got exploded to death at the end of the movie. Well, this particular incarnation of the sequel will toss out the ending of the theatrical release and instead adopt the vastly superior alternate ending, where Neville survives, as canon. While retconning is a nasty Hollywood habit, in this case it actually makes a lot of sense, considering the alternate ending should have been the one that Warner Bros. Went with in the first place all those years ago. Nearly 20 years ago, to be exact. Either way, it'll certainly be intriguing to be back in this world roughly 2 decades later, and to sweeten the deal, Smith will co-star alongside Michael B. Jordan, which sounds like one hell of a blockbuster pairing. Given Jordan's aptitude for picking quality projects in recent years, it's easy to believe that I Am Legend 2 may well surpass its predecessor, if it gets made, because, you know, we've been waiting for this one for a long time now. And we are also dangerously close to Will Smith dropping another Pretty Girls if we don't give him something else to do, so please, just get it made for that reason, if nothing else. Next up, Godzilla Minus Zero. Godzilla Minus One was a massive international hit far beyond anyone's expectations, becoming the highest-grossing Toho-produced Godzilla film and winning a Best Visual Effects Oscar against bigger-budgeted Hollywood competition. Critics tripped over themselves to praise the film as a refreshingly character-driven Godzilla movie, a rare one to offer up human characters who didn't feel like a tedious distraction from all the delicious monster shenanigans, as is the case with Universal's concurrently running franchise, which I could just not get into, no matter how much you have Godzilla and King Kong doing fun stuff together. Even if you give King Kong the Infinity Gauntlet, I just cannot deal with these boring-ass human characters. Either way, it didn't take long for a sequel to Minus One, creatively titled Minus Zero, to be announced. And while the original is one hell of a tough act to follow, it's easy to have faith in writer and director Takashi Yamazaki after what he turned in the first time around. Original leads Ryunosuke Kamiki and Minami Hamabe are set to return, but most enticingly, the sequel won't only take place in Japan. Sequences have also been shot in New Zealand and as far away as Norway, which should ensure a more diverse aesthetic compared to the first film. While it wouldn't surprise anyone if Godzilla Minus Zero wasn't quite as good as its predecessor, there's definitely the potential for it to benefit from its bigger budget and a more varied location shooting arrangement. On the way, the adventures of Cliff Booth. Under pretty much any other circumstance, it would be tough to have much enthusiasm for a sequel to a Quentin Tarantino film that isn't being directed by the man himself, despite his terrible, terrible opinions. But this wildly unexpected follow-up to Tarantino's most recent film, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, is a unique case given that directing duties are being undertaken by one of the best filmmakers working today, the great David Fincher. And to be clear, the script for The Adventures of Cliff Booth has been penned by Tarantino himself, so what's going on? While you might question why Tarantino wouldn't direct a script he also wrote, it's apparently less about its quality than Tarantino not wanting his 10th and final directorial effort to be a sequel. And considering that Brad Pitt's stuntman Cliff Booth was far and away the most praised aspect of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, even netting Pitt a well-earned Best Supporting Actor Oscar, a sequel focused on him could be even better, especially with Pitt's regular collaborator Fincher leading the charge. But Dave, come on, after this, we're doing Mindhunter Season 3, right? Right? Next up, Ready or Not 2, Here I Come. 2019's horror comedy Ready or Not was an absolute hoot, but it also felt like a clear one-off story, given that the ending tied off every last hanging thread pretty damn neatly. And so, while one might instinctively scoff at the mere existence of Ready or Not 2, Here I Come, don't discount the possibility of it being a bigger and better sequel. Directors Radio Silence will be reteaming with original writers Guy Busick and R. Christopher Murphy, hopefully ensuring the diabolical lore of the first film is intriguingly expanded upon. That's without even getting into the core narrative of the sequel, where a returning Grace, played by Samara Weaving, teams up with her younger sister Faith, played by Katherine Newton, while participating in a new deadly game. The wealthy elites hunting the duo down this time are amusingly plucked from 90s pop culture, with the likes of Sarah Michelle Gellar, the faculty's Sean Hatosy, and Elijah Wood among them, while the wider cast includes Nestor Carbonell, Kevin Durand, and even David Cronenberg. Honestly, the trailers make this look like an absolute blast, so don't discount the possibility that it one-ups what came before. On the way, How to Train Your Dragon 2. Last year's remake of beloved DreamWorks animation classic How to Train Your Dragon went down well with both critics and audiences, even while many noted that it was among the more needless live-action remakes of recent times, given both the fair recency of the 2010 original and how well-aged it is. The remake's success, of course, ensured that DreamWorks is going full steam ahead with remakes of the next two entries. And the one big thing that the remake of How to Train Your Dragon 2 actually has going for it? Well, in the eyes of many fans, the second animated film is better than the first. The sequel, already slated to release on June 11th, 2027, happens to be adapting one of the best animated sequels of the last 20 years, with its more complex emotional story alongside the introduction of Hiccup's mother, Valka. Franchise director Dean DeBlois is hopeful that he'll get Cate Blanchett back to portray Valka in live-action form, which would damn near guarantee that this sequel ends up outdoing the first. Next up, Violent Night 2. Violent Night wasn't big or clever, but it did deliver on the basics of its premise. David Harbour playing a kick-ass Santa Claus who takes on a fleet of mercenaries that terrorize a wealthy family. Just a great, joyful holiday premise. The film itself was a surprise box office hit, enough that a sequel was swiftly confirmed. And while we don't actually know a whole lot about Violent Night 2, one amusing casting announcement is pretty much enough to be intrigued. Kristen Bell was recently confirmed to be playing Mrs. Claus in the sequel, and it goes without saying that throwing Santa's wife into the action comedy mix has a whole ton of potential, especially if we get to see Belle kicking ass and taking names in her own festive right. Now, beyond this, the cast is generally pretty beefed up for the sequel, with the likes of Daniela Melchior, Jared Harris, Joe Pantoliano, yes, Joey Pants himself, and even wrestler MJF joining the ensemble. While Violent Night 2 probably won't stray too far from what worked the first time around, it has all the potential to expand upon the original's mythology and build out a surprisingly sturdy franchise of seasonal action flicks. Next up, Lords of War. Lord of War admittedly wasn't high on many folks' list as far as sequel demands go, but the original 2005 Nicolas Cage starring crime drama has endured as something of a cult classic over the last 20 or so years. Despite flopping at the box office on original release, its home video success since led to serious discussions of a sequel in the 2020s, with Lords of War being officially confirmed in 2023. Cage is confirmed to return as arms dealer Yuri Orlov, while Bill Skarsgård will be co-starring as his son. And considering that Cage and Skarsgård are among the most fearlessly bold actors of their respective generations, it goes without saying that pairing them together should result in sheer cinematic dynamite. At the very least, it's a more inspired pairing than the sibling duo of Cage and Jared Leto's Vitaly in the first film. And as the global arms trade remains one of the great moral evils of our time, there's plenty of material left to mine here. Another Minecraft movie. A Minecraft movie may have grossed close to $1 billion at the box office, but the critical reaction was extremely not good, suggesting that there's tons of room for improvement in the sequel. The amusingly titled Another Minecraft Movie is already in development and set for a July 23, 2027 release, so it's fair to assume that shooting will likely begin within the next few months. While the first film's entire army of screenwriters likely won't want to deviate too much from a formula that somehow worked the last time around, they'll do themselves a solid by at least following up on the first film's post-credits tease, which implied that Steve's female counterpart Alex would appear. In the scene in question, we only see Alex shot from behind, where she's played by Alice May Connolly and voiced by Kate McKinnon. And though it remains to be seen if McKinnon will indeed be fully portraying Alex in the sequel, giving Steve a female foil is an easy way to elevate the follow-up above its predecessor. Plus, it isn't difficult to picture Black and McKinnon having some really good on-screen chemistry, and considering the first film's better-than-expected success, hopefully Warner Bros. Might also pump up the budget to ensure the VFX look a little, less crap this time around. Next up, Crawl 2. 2019's Crawl is a thoroughly entertaining creature feature starring Kea Scodelario and Barry Pepper as a daughter and father who find themselves trapped in the crawl space of their home and pursued by alligators in the middle of a Category 5 hurricane. It's like the most hell yeah movie premise of all time. Crawl was well reviewed and commercially successful, so the announcement of a sequel wasn't completely surprising, even if one has to question the likelihood of a similar scenario befalling the same people twice in true Die Hard fashion. The answer to that question is that Crawl 2 is instead a standalone sequel focused on entirely new characters, and in the very least director Alexandra Aja has cooked up one hell of a premise that certainly raises the mayhem potential. You see, Crawl 2 will reportedly revolve around a storm which causes animals in New York City's Central Park Zoo to escape, resulting in utter chaos across the city. And yeah, that sounds really awesome, to be honest. Sign me the hell up. Many great sequels take the original premise and inject it with steroids, Aliens being one big example, and Crawl 2 certainly sounds like it's using the commercial success of the original to build a bigger and potentially even better follow-up. For creature feature fans starved of quality fare in recent years, this could be an absolute banger in the making. Next up, Roadhouse 2. Desperately few people were asking for a remake of the cult classic 1989 Patrick Swayze starring action flick Roadhouse, but you know what? The 2024 remake turned out okay, I guess. If the original is a masterpiece, then the remake is a watchable slice of junk that had a bit of Jake Gyllenhaal juice to level things up a wee bit. But yeah, no more, no less. And because the film was a massive viewership hit for Amazon, of course they greenlit a sequel. But things are a little bit different this time around, and maybe, potentially, even for the better. Now, for one, we won't be subjected to Conor McGregor's, acting again, because while his villain Knox survived the first film, antagonist duties will this time be taken up by Dave Bautista. Seeing Gyllenhaal and Big Dave lock horns should be a whole ton of fun, and in addition to this, original director Doug Liman has been swapped out for Ilya Nishulia. Nishulia did a great job energetically directing Nobody, and so seems like a considerable upgrade from Liman, who has largely coasted as an uninspired journeyman for the past decade despite having bangers like The Bourne Identity and Edge of Tomorrow to his name. Strangely though, Lyman is meanwhile producing his own version of Roadhouse 2, which is said to be a direct sequel to the original Patrick Swayze movie. So yeah, we got Roadhouse tension going on here. That's kind of more fun than the potential of an actual movie itself, to be honest. I'd watch a movie about the movie. That would be fun. On the way, Ma 2. 2019's Blumhouse thriller Ma was a surprising box office success. And though reviews were relatively mixed, it became something of a cult hit thanks to Octavia Spencer's ludicrously entertaining performance in the title role and its numerous meme-worthy scenes. And last June, more than 6 years after the first film came out, a sequel was unexpectedly announced to be in development with Spencer returning in the lead role. The first film was fun, but there was also plenty of room for improvement in terms of its storytelling. And the filmmakers would probably be smart to lean harder into the camp considering the original's reception online. You could have like another Megan scenario here. Ma 2 needs to just crank the absurdity meter even harder and give Spencer every opportunity to swing for the fences with that fan-favorite performance. On the way, Uncharted 2. 2022's Uncharted adaptation may have been a solid box office success, though the general reception from both critics and fans of the video game franchise was wildly mixed. Despite Tom Holland's solid-ish performance as a younger Nathan Drake and a few good action sequences, I guess, many felt that it was just a disappointingly bland action-adventure romp with the Uncharted branding just half-heartedly slapped on it, while Mark Wahlberg was fundamentally miscast as Sully, and you don't even need to play the games to know that. Just what the hell are we doing here? While Sony obviously won't be recasting Sully for the in-development sequel, the end of the first film teased that Nate's brother Sam would appear, and considering that Sam instantly became a fan-favorite character when introduced in the fourth game, Uncharted 4: A Thief's End, it's a ripe role for an up-and-coming actor to take. If Uncharted 2 consequently focuses more on Nate and Sam adventuring while Sully takes a back seat, that would probably be for the best. And to make things slightly more interesting, director Ruben Fleischer has a pretty good track record with sequels, given that both Zombieland Double Tap and the recent Now You See Me, Now You Don't were relatively solid. This is all assuming that they ever actually get around to filming it, what with Tom Holland's hectic MCU schedule, which is ramping up yet again with the production of Spider-Man Brand New Day, Avengers Doomsday, and Avengers Secret Wars. Next up, My Best Friend's Wedding 2. It sure seems like a ripe period for legacy sequels to classic comedies right now, and next up we'll be getting a follow-up to 1997's much-loved Julia Roberts starring vehicle, My Best Friend's Wedding. While this doesn't seem like the most natural fit for a sequel of any kind, it's hard to dismiss it out of hand considering that it's set to be written by Past Lives and materialist filmmaker Celine Song. With her 2 films to date, Song has proven herself adept at delivering romantic stories that are both thematically rich and drenched in wit, so it seems highly unlikely that this will just be another belated rom-com sequel. Quite what shape it will take remains to be seen, but it's easy to trust Song's process given that she's an Oscar-nominated writer who can bring some real juice and gravitas to a project like this. As long as they get Julia Roberts and Dermot Mulroney back, obviously. Next up, The Revenge of La Llorona. It's kind of telling that the producers of the Conjuring franchise have continually downplayed the presence of 2019 spin-off The Curse of La Llorona, which, while part of the wider Conjuring universe, is largely unconnected to the other movies. After all, The Curse of La Llorona was widely panned by critics and remains one of the worst reviewed films in the Conjuring universe. They might add that it grossed more than $120 million on a mere $9 million budget. Now, it's a damn shame the film wasn't better because the central Latin American folklore is absolutely rich with potential for a moody cinematic treatment. And in fact, the art house version released the very same year, simply titled La Llorona, was effortlessly superior. And so there's definitely room for upcoming standalone sequel The Revenge of La Llorona to be miles better than its predecessor. With No One Gets Out Alive Santiago Mangini taking over directorial duties and the script being penned by a regular writer on the 12 Monkeys TV show, Sean Tretta, it's already got more behind the camera talent going for it, while the cast includes the solid likes of Monica Raymond, Jay Hernandez, and a returning Raymond Cruz. This is all to say, it can't be worse than the last movie, right? Next up, Under Paris 2. Under Paris was a thunderously stupid yet rather entertaining 2024 disaster film in which Paris is besieged by a giant shark which appears in the Seine. For the most part, it's a schlocky Netflix blockbuster packed with brain-dead, charmless characters, but in the very least it delivers an absolutely unhinged ending, which suggests a more exciting sequel is on the way. In Under Paris' climax, the military accidentally shoots unexploded ordnance laying at the bottom of the Seine, triggering a massive chain reaction of explosions which causes the entire center of the city to become flooded, leaving protagonist Sophie stranded and surrounded by circling mutant sharks. The end credits then reveal that the mutated sharks have managed to spread across major river cities worldwide, suggesting a global catastrophe is soon upon us. Now, I don't care who you are, that's one hell of a bonkers setup for the now in development Under Paris 2, one-upping the insanity of the original with a basically apocalyptic, waterlogged Paris, ensuring that there are few places for the survivors to actually hide. Let's go. On the way, Alita Battle Angel 2. Alita Battle Angel may have been a mild box office disappointment, but fan enthusiasm for a follow-up to the cyberpunk manga adaptation has remained high over the 7 years since its premiere. And just last November, director Robert Rodriguez and producer and writer James Cameron confirmed that they were still actively developing a sequel, having even made a quote-unquote blood oath to get Battle Angel 2 made one way or another, which sounds really threatening. And honestly, the potential for the second film to be a marked improvement over the first is enormous. Though the original film was visually stunning and Rosa Salazar gave a strong performance as Alita, most of its problems pertain to the clunky, awkward writing, particularly that of Alita's love interest Hugo, played by Kean Johnson. But make no mistake, the bones of a great movie were there. It just didn't come fully together. If a sequel steered away from the cornier aspects of the original while continuing to build out its lavish world, it could easily be much, much better. Next up, The Last Witch Hunter 2. And finally, we have a sequel that just about no one expected to happen until the original star recently announced it. The Last Witch Hunter was a 2015 fantasy action film starring Vin Diesel as an immortal witch hunter trying to save the world from a plague, and one which flopped both critically and commercially. Though Diesel talked up a sequel many times over the years, it didn't seem like a realistic prospect until Lionsgate officially confirmed it back in 2025. And indeed, The Last Witch Hunter 2 is happening. And stranger still, a 92-year-old Michael Caine will be coming out of retirement to reprise his supporting role from the first film. Of all the movies to go with, Michael, what's going on? More than any other movie on this list, arguably, pretty much the only way is up here, given that the first movie scored a brutal 17% on Rotten Tomatoes. The audiences of today generally seem a little keener to embrace camp, so hopefully this sequel might take itself a bit less seriously than the first and just have some fun. Fingers crossed.